The sky over Cinder Prime was a perpetual dusk, choked by smoke and the glow of countless furnaces. Towering monoliths of blackened steel clawed at the thickened clouds, their jagged silhouettes casting long shadows across the sprawling mega-city below. Here, the air tasted of oil and ash, a reminder that progress was paid for in sacrifice, and survival was reserved for the ruthless. At the heart of this metallic beast rose the citadel of Dominion, an immense fortress whose walls seemed forged, not just from ore, but from iron will. It was here that Ashley Carter, known throughout Cinder Prime as the Demir Kralice, the Iron Queen, ruled with unyielding command. Ashley stood upon the highest balcony of the citadel, her gaze scanning the city that had both birthed and bound her. Her figure was a stark contrast against the gloom, tall, poised, wrapped in a crimson coat that billowed like living fire. Her dark hair, tightly pulled back, revealed a face carved from determination and hardened by years of battles, both political and personal. Her emerald eyes, sharp and unflinching, traced the restless movements of the factories below, the endless procession of workers moving like ants across the steel expanse. To most, Ashley was an unapproachable monarch, but to those who understood power, she was the iron hand that kept chaos at bay. A sharp chime echoed through the chamber behind her, pulling her attention back. A slender aide entered swiftly, holding a hollow pad pulsing with urgent, red alerts. "Your Majesty," the aide said with practiced respect, "reports from the southern sectors indicate increased civil unrest, unauthorized gatherings, sabotage at energy plants, and there's something else." Her voice dropped. "Satellite scans show unidentified ships in orbit, no conquered markings. They appear hostile." Ashley's jaw tightened. "Show me." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the sprawling cityscape of Sindari Prime and the ominous silhouettes of ships looming just beyond the atmosphere. Her fingers clenched the railing. The threats came not only from the shadows within, but now from the void above. Her mind raced, calculating, weighing options. The fragile order she had so brutally maintained was beginning to fracture. Later, in the war room, Ashley sat at the head of a massive, glowing table that displayed the full extent of her dominion. Around her, generals and council members whispered urgently, their voices thick with fear and uncertainty. General Marcus Hale, a grizzled veteran, leaned forward. "Your Majesty, the unrest is spreading faster than we can contain. The people are hungry, not just for food, but for hope. And these ships, if they mean invasion, we're vulnerable." Ashley's gaze cut through the room like a blade. "Then we remind them why Cinder Prime bends only to strength." She rose, her voice cold and commanding. "Deploy patrols immediately, increase surveillance, shut down any assembly before it grows, and ready the fleet. I want eyes on those ships at all times." A murmur rippled through the room, a mixture of relief and dread. The Demir Kralice did not tolerate failure. In the solitude of her private chambers, Ashley allowed herself a moment to breathe. She removed her crimson coat, revealing the subtle armor beneath, not just protection for the body, but a symbol of the burden she carried. Her hand brushed the scar along her left wrist, a faint reminder of a past she kept locked away. The war she fought was not only for Cinder Prime's survival, but for her own redemption. The city depended on her strength, but within her heart a storm brewed, one fueled by memories she dared not face. Outside, the city of Cinder Prime roared on, its steel veins pulsing with the lifeblood of industry and power. And at its core stood Ashley Carter, Iron Queen, ruthless ruler, and the only hope in a world where mercy was a forgotten word. The cold glow of dawn had barely touched the citadel's steel spires when Ashley Carter was already deep within. The labyrinthine corridors of her command center. The heartbeat of Cinder Prime's governance, a place where loyalty and betrayal often wore the same face. Her footsteps echoed on the polished metal floor, as she made her way toward the council chamber, a circular room dominated by a massive holodisk that displayed real-time feeds from across the planet. It flickered with unrest, smoke plumes, flashing alarms, encrypted chatter intercepted from rebel networks. Inside the chamber, the air was thick with tension. Around the glowing table sat her closest advisors, their faces shadowed by the weight of unseen threats. Her second-in-command, Elias Monroe, was among them, his eyes sharp, his posture relaxed but alert. He greeted Ashley with a nod, but beneath the surface, his mind churned with schemes only he understood. Ashley's voice cut through the murmurs, cold and precise. "Report." Elias stepped forward, voice measured. "Your Majesty, the unrest in the southern sectors intensifies. Rebel factions grow bolder, emboldened by whispers of our vulnerabilities. More troubling, there are signs of internal sabotage." A murmur spread. The word sabotage was poison. Ashley's gaze swept the room, landing on each face. "Explain," General Marcus Hale spoke next. "Several supply depots suffered failures, machinery inexplicably halted, communications disrupted. We suspect, insiders." The room fell silent. The possibility that someone within her own walls worked against her was a blade through her ribs. Ashley's fingers tightened around the edge of the holodisk. "Find them. Root them out. No loyalty means more than survival." Later, Ashley retreated to a shadowed alcove, her mind restless. The room around her was silent, but the echoes of whispers followed her like ghosts. She pulled up a private channel and activated a surveillance feed, a dimly lit corridor within the citadel itself. There, a figure cloaked in shadow moved with practiced ease, slipping past security nodes and disabling cameras. The face that flickered onto her screen was familiar. A trusted aide, someone she had once called an ally. Her jaw clenched. The deeper the shadows, the more dangerous the threats. Meanwhile, Elias Monroe met in secret with shadowy figures beneath the city streets, his words cold and calculating. "Cinder Prime will either bend or break," he said softly. "Ashley's iron grip will shatter under pressure. The time to act is now." His smile was thin, cruel. Back in her chambers, Ashley confronted her reflection in the darkened glass. The eyes staring back were fierce, but haunted. Her mind drifted to fragments of memory. A younger Ashley betrayed and abandoned, learning early that weakness was a luxury she could not afford. "Trust no one," she whispered, "not even myself." The web of conspiracy tightened, and as the shadows within grew longer, Ashley knew the true battle had only just begun. The Citadel's grand halls, usually resounding with the hum of calculated command, were now suffused with a quiet menace. Behind polished steel doors and beneath towering arches, the first moves of a dangerous game had already been played, and the board was set with pieces ready to fall. Ashley Carter's piercing emerald eyes scanned the encrypted files glowing before her on the holo display. Names, dates, secret meetings, evidence carefully woven into shadows. She knew the truth. She saw it was buried not in the enemies beyond the city, but in the cold hearts seated beside her. Her trusted lieutenant, Elias Monroe, moved through the city's underbelly with practiced ease, a shadow among shadows. His charm masked the poison within, and his ambition stretched far beyond mere loyalty. A coded message reached his wrist. "Console," an encrypted transmission from one of his covert allies deep within the council. "Target vulnerable. Timing, midnight. Outcome assured." Elias allowed a rare smile, thin and predatory. His moment had come. At the stroke of midnight, under the cavernous dome of the council chamber, Ashley convened her advisers. The atmosphere was taut, every glance and gesture loaded with unspoken threats. Elias stepped forward with a carefully rehearsed report. "Your Majesty, we have identified the source of the sabotage, a faction within the supply chain led by Councilman Varric. His voice was steady, authoritative. Arrests are underway. But Ashley's intuition whispered caution. She watched Elias with a measured gaze, noting the flicker of triumph beneath his calm demeanor. The chamber doors sealed as armored guards moved silently through the halls, detaining Varric and several others. The accused protested, their shock and betrayal painting vivid pictures of political intrigue. In the quiet that followed, Ashley summoned Elias privately. "The coup may be larger than you suggest," she said, voice low but fierce. "Are you certain Varric is the root, or merely a pawn?" Elias met her gaze without flinching. "My Queen, I assure you, this is but the beginning of the purge. Trust in my counsel." But trust was a currency Ashley spent sparingly. That night she prowled the shadowed corridors alone, piecing together scraps of intelligence, and whispered rumors. Fragments pointed to a deeper conspiracy, one that tied back to Elias himself. She stopped before an unmarked door deep within the citadel's bowels. Access was restricted, but her authority unmatched. Inside she found a hidden chamber, walls lined with intercepted communications, secret dossiers, evidence that confirmed her worst suspicions. Elias was not just a betrayer, he was the architect. Her breath caught, fury coiling like a serpent in her chest. "You've played the game long enough," she whispered into the cold air. "Now I will decide the rules." Outside, the city continued unaware, teetering on the edge of chaos, while within the citadel, a war of shadows had ignited, a battle for the soul of Cinder Prime. The hardest battles are not fought on the battlefield, but in the mind, and the past never stays buried. The night in Cinder Prime was thick with silence, a rare calm before the storm that churned beneath the surface. Within the fortress-like walls of the citadel, Ashley Carter retreated to her private sanctum, a room she had sealed from prying eyes and distant echoes. There, amidst the cold steel and dim ambient lights, the Iron Queen was alone with her memories. She stood before a large, darkened viewport, gazing out over the sprawling cityscape that sprawled beneath her like a living organism. The fires of countless factories burned orange and red against the veil of smoke that clouded the sky. Yet, in this moment, Ashley's mind was far from the present. Her thoughts slipped back decades to a time before the throne, before the unyielding reign. A young girl, no older than 10, hidden in the underbelly of a ruined city on Earth. The air was thick with ash and desperation. Families torn apart by wars, governments collapsed, and survival a daily gamble. It was here she had learned the brutal lessons that forged her will. Trust was a weapon, and mercy a weakness. Her father, once a respected officer, had been betrayed by those he trusted most. His death left scars deeper than any wound. Ashley's mother had vanished into the chaos soon after, leaving her to fend for herself in the ruins. Hungry and cold, she had been taken in by a covert faction, a group that taught her to fight, to manipulate, and above all, to never show weakness. That upbringing had crafted the woman she was now, unyielding, iron-willed, but haunted. A soft chime pulled her from her reverie. A secure transmission blinked onto her wrist console. The message was simple, but chilling. Elias moves faster than anticipated. The council fractures. Choose your allies carefully. Ashley's fingers brushed the scar on her left wrist, a remnant of a brutal initiation ritual, and a constant reminder of the cost of power. She knew Elias's betrayal was more than political ambition. It was personal. Minutes later, Sekinahars, the shadowed corridors, Ashley met with Lena Calloway, a former friend turned reluctant confidant, and the only person who knew the truth of Ashley's past. Lena's voice was steady but laced with urgency. "You can't fight this war alone. The ghosts of your past are already closing in." Ashley's emerald eyes met Lena's. Then it's time to decide who stays with me when the walls fall. Their alliance was fragile, woven from shared pain and mutual necessity. As the city trembled on the brink of upheaval, Ashley prepared not only for the battle against her enemies, but also the reckoning with her own soul. Outside, the factories pulsed with unrelenting life, and the iron heartbeat of Cinder Prime continued. But within the Queen's mind, echoes of the past stirred, shadows that threatened to consume everything she had built. The first light of dawn barely penetrated the thick smog that choked Cinder Prime's skies. The city was a labyrinth of steel and shadow, its massive structures humming with the relentless rhythm of industry. Yet beneath this mechanical pulse, an ominous silence had settled, a quiet before the tempest. Ashley Carter stood again on the balcony of the Citadel, her silhouette stark against the muted glow of the city. The crimson coat that once billowed like fire now hung heavier, weighed down by the gravity of impending war. Her gaze fixed on the distant horizon where the outlines of unidentified ships hovered like specters against the smoky veil. The war room was a frenzy of motion. Holomaps flickered with tactical data. Generals barked orders and strategists debated fiercely. Ashley held court in the eye of the storm, her presence commanding absolute attention. General Marcus Hale, battle-scarred and resolute, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, reconnaissance confirms the fleet is mobilizing for an assault. Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered. Our defenses must be reinforced immediately." Ashley nodded, voice steel-sharp. "Mobilize the fleet and fortify the outer defenses. Activate the pulse shields along the perimeter. No vessel enters without my say." But even as preparations surged, the city itself became a battleground. Saboteurs, emboldened by internal dissent, struck at critical infrastructure. Power grids flickered and failed. Communication arrays sputtered under coordinated attacks. In the chaos, citizens whispered of rebellion, fear, and the end of the Iron Reign. Ashley moved through the command center with purposeful strides, issuing commands that cut through the turmoil like blades. Her second-in-command, Elias Monroe, watched from the shadows, calculating his next move amidst the upheaval. In a secluded chamber, Ashley convened with her most trusted lieutenants. The air was thick with tension. Every face bore the weight of imminent conflict. "We cannot fight only with weapons," Ashley stated. "We must strike at the heart of this uprising before the enemy can capitalize." She paused, eyes narrowing. "Find the traitors within. Use every resource, spies, informants, interrogation. I want results." Her words were met with a grim resolve. Loyalty in this hour was a rare commodity. As night fell, the first salvo of the siege began. Alien ships unleashed torrents of energy that streaked like lightning across the sky, lighting the smog in eerie blues and greens. The city's pulse shields flared to life, absorbing blasts that shook the ground. Explosions echoed through the steel canyons, and emergency sirens wailed. Ashley stood firm amidst the chaos, a pillar of unyielding resolve. The price of power was sacrifice, and she was prepared to pay it in full. In the depths of the Citadel, as alarms blared and battle raged, Ashley allowed herself a fleeting moment of doubt. The war was no longer just for survival. It was for the very soul of Cinder Prime. And as the siege of steel raged on, the lines between friend and foe blurred into ash and blood. Bonds shatter when trust fractures, and chains forged by fear turn into weapons of destruction. The aftermath of the siege left Cinder Prime scarred, a city bruised but unbowed. Smoke still curled from shattered districts, and the air thrummed with a tension that felt far heavier than the battle itself. Yet, within the Citadel's impenetrable walls, a far more devastating war was unfolding, one of betrayal and shattered allegiances. Ashley Carter sat in the Hall of Echoes, a vaulted chamber where once the voices of past rulers had whispered wisdom. Now it resonated with the sharp clang of shattered loyalty. Her fingers traced the edge of the council table, eyes cold and unyielding. Around her, trusted lieutenants and generals exchanged wary glances, the weight of recent treacheries pressing. On their shoulders, a sealed dossier lay before her, the evidence of the coup that had nearly toppled her reign, names, dates, hidden correspondences that linked conspirators deep within the Citadel's core. Among them, a face burned brighter than the rest, Elias Monroe. The revelation was both a knife and a shield. Ashley's mind raced through every subtle gesture, every whispered conversation. The man who had stood at her side, her second in command, was the architect of the betrayal. With measured steps, Ashley entered the war chamber where Elias awaited, calm and composed. His smile was a mask, the predator hiding beneath the guise of loyalty. "Ashley," he began smoothly, "we both know the game we play, but you cannot deny that change is inevitable." She met his gaze with steel. "You crossed the line, the chain is broken, and now you face its consequences." Guards moved silently to encircle Elias, but he raised a hand, a subtle signal, and several hidden allies emerged from shadowed alcoves, sparking chaos. Blades clashed, sparks flew. The room became a storm of violence, betrayal turning deadly as Ashley fought not just for power, but for survival. Her blade sang through the air, every strike a statement. Mercy was a forgotten currency. As the dust settled, Elias lay defeated but alive, a symbol of shattered trust and bitter loss. Ashley stood over him, breath steady despite the battle's fury. "You thought you could chain me," she said coldly, "but I am the one who breaks chains." The cost was high, allies lost, the city trembling with uncertainty, and Ashley's own heart heavier than ever. But the Iron Queen knew the war was far from over. Outside the citadel, the fires of rebellion still smoldered, and in the shadows, new threats stirred. The breaking of one chain only meant the forging of another. The aftermath of the coup attempt left scars deeper than the ruined corridors of the citadel. Blood had been spilled, friends turned foes, trust shattered like fragile glass. But amidst the ruin, Ashley Carter remained unbroken, a living testament to the brutal price of power. The throne room, once a symbol of unshakable authority, was now heavy with silence. The air smelled faintly of smoke and iron, echoes of recent violence. Ashley stood alone at its center, her crimson coat torn and dusted with ash, her eyes cold embers burning behind a mask of steely resolve. Her thoughts were a storm. Elias Monroe's betrayal had shaken the foundation of her reign, yet the revelation of their shared past made the wound sting deeper. Their intertwined history was a tangle of secrets, rivalries, and long-buried grievances. Flashbacks flickered in her mind, childhood struggles, broken promises, and a single moment where trust was betrayed, setting them on paths destined to clash. Meanwhile, the city itself trembled. Word of the internal strife spread like wildfire. Factions loyal to Elias still lurked in the shadows, feeding the flames of rebellion and unrest. Ashley convened a secret meeting with her closest allies in the depths of the citadel. The room was dimly lit, the atmosphere tense but determined. "We stand on the edge of chaos," she began, voice low but commanding. "Our enemies are many, within and without, but we will not falter." Her gaze swept the room. "Tonight, we strike back. We purge the traitors and silence the dissent." Plans were made swiftly and ruthlessly. Swift raids on rebel hideouts, targeted arrests, and displays of brutal force sent a clear message. The Iron Queen's grip would tighten, not loosen. Yet, in the quiet moments, Ashley's mind wrestled with the cost of such ruthlessness. Each victory was stained with blood, each ally lost carved a hollow in her heart. Late that night, she wandered alone through the war-torn streets of Sindar Prime. The neon glow of shattered signs flickered above piles of debris. Faces of frightened citizens flashed in the smoky haze, their hope dim but not yet extinguished. A small child's cry pierced the night, and Ashley paused. The sound stirred a memory. Of innocence lost, of promises broken. She clenched her fists, the weight of command crushing yet undeniable. "For Sindar Prime," she whispered, "for the future forged in ashes." As the city braced for what was to come, Ashley Carter stood unyielding, a queen forged in blood and fire, determined to reign despite the storm. When shadows collide, only the strongest will emerge unbroken, but at what cost? The horizon of Sindar Prime was ablaze, a fiery scar beneath a sky choked with smoke and ash. The final storm was upon them. Every whisper of rebellion, every silent alliance forged in the darkness, had converged into a single point of reckoning. Ashley Carter stood at the pinnacle of the citadel, her silhouette framed against the burning city below. The crimson coat she wore was tattered, but it bore the marks of countless battles, each a testament to the relentless will that had carried her this far. Behind her, the war room buzzed with frenetic energy. Tactical holograms projected across the chamber, displaying the vast battlefield unfolding across land, sea, and sky. Enemy vessels closed in, their weapons poised to unleash devastation. Inside, betrayal still lingered like a poison, threatening to unravel the fragile order Ashley had fought so hard to build. General Marcus Hale approached, his weathered face grim. "Your Majesty, our defenses hold, but barely. The enemy's strategy is unpredictable, their forces unlike any we've encountered. And inside the citadel, some of our own continue to sow discord." Ashley's eyes narrowed, voice cold steel. "Then we finish this, inside and out. I want every loyal soldier ready to move at my command. The time for mercy is over." Her gaze hardened as she thought of Elias Monroe, defeated but still alive. A wound that refused to heal. The line between ally and enemy had blurred until it was almost meaningless. The battle outside erupted into chaos as energy blasts tore through the sky, lighting the darkness with hellish fire. Sindar Prime shuddered under the assault, its people caught between fear and defiance. Ashley moved with purposeful grace through the citadel's inner sanctums, rallying her forces, inspiring with a voice that brooked no argument. Every step was a declaration. She was not yet broken. In the deepest vaults, a clandestine meeting took place. Ashley faced the leaders of factions who had hesitated in their loyalty, who had played both sides in the shadows. Her words were sharp, her presence commanding. "This is your last choice. Stand with me or be swept away by the tides of history." The silence that followed was heavy. Slowly, one by one, the hesitant pledged their allegiance. The fragile unity forged from desperation and ambition. As the battle raged on, Ashley found herself face to face with the final challenge, not just the enemy beyond the walls, but the war within her own soul. Her thoughts drifted to the city's countless souls, the sacrifices made, and the future she still vowed to protect. The Iron Queen's reign teetered on a knife's edge, and the coming dawn would decide all. Outside, the fires began to wane, the enemy faltered, and a fragile hope flickered amidst the ruins. Ashley Carter stood, tall, bloodied, but unbowed. The last reckoning had come, and she was ready to claim what was hers.